Today no coffee.
That is a confusion. I thought the energy is coming, and nicely I did not drink coffee.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Before coming here today, since morning, I've been browsing on the idea of Sanathana Dharma. What are the people talked about? Big scholars and all that in several languages. Telugu I know, and Hindi also I'm very familiar with and all that. Everybody talks about some, you do this, 1, 2, 3, this is what is Sanathana Dharma. You tell the truth, follow the Dharma, and then charity, you do it. These are the things. Sanatana Dharma is something which is all-encompassing. Our whole life has been Sanatana Dharma. So, I was just thinking that is it that I am odd man out? Am I doing right? Because I want to see everything in this. In fact, there's some of the books also, some of the people have said even Sanatana Dharma means you have to have one God and then faith in God, go to the temple. I said, but then in Sanatana Dharma, there were people who didn't have faith in God. Even that is also part of Sanatana Dharma. And we have multiple gods are there. Which God is right, which God is wrong. And then some people say that, so God is there. That means Advaitavadins, what do they say about it? So like that, there were so many things which are there about Sanatana Dharma. If I have to really give a justice to Sanatana Dharma, I have to include all these things. Not only that, the way that right from the childhood, how it is development has taken place per individual. All these things we have to give. I have to justify also in the way how that it is not the journey, Sanatana Dharma, one of the important things is journey not in this life. It is life after life after life we continue. There is something which we are continuing that we need to give. So like that, there are so many things which are complicated. I need to involve on all this. Apart from these things, my own observations have been, we have given the world's best logic formulae in the form of Nyaya Shastra. And then we also gave exceptions in the form of Vaiseshika. So we are given so much about Nyaya and Vaiseshika, such a deep way that we thought about all those things that in front of the Nyaya Shastra that we have, Aristotle Nyaya looks very feeble. In fact, the other day I was looking at it. So when we look at that way, that how much that we need to take it, and that too, it should be logical, rational, that what we present. It should not be just like that. I cannot simply say, believe there is a God is there, believe in God, and pray God, sit down in front of the temple, or go to the temple, sit down. I cannot accept that because if I have to actually justify this particular thing, there are people who had that experience of God that also have to take it because we see so many saints who have seen the gods, who have prayed for the gods, and for them, the gods seem to be reality. Now, apart from that, we also have the stories of Rama and Krishna were supposed to be historical stories. They are historical figures. But then again, that you take them gods. So what is the way, how do I put all these things together, justify that, and not only that justification, but to see that how we can make use of it in present day's world. We have to see how to update it. That's also very important because the basic factor why Sanatana Dharma survived is because it had an ability to upgrade itself from time to time to time. 5,000, 7,000 years ago, it was there. So 5,000 years back, it was still applicable because it could update itself for 2,000 years, right? And 1,000 years back, it was there, useful. 2,000 years ago, like Shankara were there. At that time, it was useful. They could update the whole thing from Shankara's point of view. Later on, people have come, they continue to follow Dharma, Sanatana Dharma. So which means now fresh, very fresh. Even today, when you look at it, The things are so fresh. Kumbh Mela, how many people have come? How many people visited? It is not historical. It is something which is today. It's celebrating. So that means to say, and the same thing will continue, I'm sure, another 1,000 years later. So we have to take it in such a way that the whole thing we have to carry together. That's the reason why in Sanatana Dharma I said that we have to find out what is the central core, which Vivekananda said one thing. I said that every culture has its own core competency or core this value, and based on that it survives. And I've told you also that how various other cultures have that core values, and because the core values were only temporary, that's why the cultures have also gone in the pages of history. Such a wonderful culture like Mesopotamian, Babylonian culture, Greek culture that was there at one time, it was at the top of the world and all that. But today they are in the history books. Why it happened? Because the core of that culture was not something which was intact. Whereas in this culture, the core of culture survived. And that core of the culture, in one sentence, Vivekananda said it. And that is, the core of this culture is spirituality. And how do we understand the spirituality as a core of the culture? People said that there are temples in this place. Temples is just one of the instruments that is there. Our rituals are there. Rituals is also another instrument. But I should be able to make the journey of life itself is spiritual. That's what is the core of this culture. Wherever it is, whatever it is, everybody, the ideal in this particular culture is spiritual growth. So that means the whole culture is designed like that in such a way, right from the time of 10,000 years back to today, it has to go in that direction. So when we look at that way, that we see that the system of an individual growth, right from the mother's womb to the tomb, it's a journey towards spirituality. So if I have to design the lifestyle that way, if somebody follows, somebody drops in between, it doesn't matter. But one thing is that I'm doing justice for this culture. Locally, people might take it, go some far, depending upon their own ability. But then the highest value in this culture is spiritual growth. And that's what you could see even till today, that the people who are highly valued in this particular culture are the people who have dedicated themselves to spirituality. They may be Swamiji, sannyasins, this, that, and all that. Naga Babas who came to uh, Mahakumbh. So these are the people who are supposed to be the core of this particular culture. Often people ask that somebody sits and meditates and some in a cave and all that and Gerwa cloth and doesn't take any food or anything. In what way is contributing to the society? They don't understand their contribution to the society. They think that somebody does the Annadana is the one who is doing something to the society, but not somebody who's sitting and meditating. Because basically, that is the core of the culture. He's taking care of that. In fact, somebody is doing an Annadana, somebody is involved in something like that. He's not capable of sitting like that. That's why he's doing this. So, this is the way that this culture valued. And people who deeply understand this culture, they have this idea. In fact, I told one of the examples that a very great, very highly saintly musician, he was there. Balamal Krishna's contemporary was there and all that. Extraordinary, wonderful, saintly musician. I really regard him, respect him and all that. And for some reason we were together, we had come across together. And then he knows that I was giving lessons in Vedanta, Upanishad, philosophy and all that, that is there. And I'm like his son, myself and his son. We were like friends like. And then I went to their house. He called all family come to touch my feet. And I'm not even, see, somebody is in the Gerwa cloth and all those things, at least, yes, you have to give respect to the ashram, yeah, respect to the Varnashrama, etc. These are the things. But here, I'm like an ordinary human being and like anybody else, and I went there. He said, everybody touch the feet. I said, sir, that you are so senior. You're like my father figure. What is the way that you're saying? He said, no. I'm only teaching one area of our extraordinary, wonderful culture. That's what is music. Whereas you are teaching Vedanta, spiritual knowledge. Therefore, we must touch your feet. You see, the feeling, that is what is very important, more than anything else. That day, my friend in the management, he was there. He just came along with me. And he saw that, he was completely stunned. Uh, And then when he went back home, he told his wife that, look, today you missed something very extraordinary. I said, what is that? This old man and whole family touching the feet of Raghuramji.
And here I think it is the respect for the knowledge,
Yes, respect for the knowledge, respect for the spiritual knowledge.
spiritual.
Yes, that is very important.
Yes, correct.
So this culture valued the spiritual growth, spiritual knowledge all the time. That's why this culture survived. We always have. There might be some people who are slips out of it, but it doesn't matter. But the basic value is this kind of. So the spiritual journey is something which is given to anybody, and I have to design the society in that way. We have to design the society in that way. That's why we have these 4 different ashramas and life. They're supposed to be designed in such a way that you graduate from one to the second, to the third, to the fourth level. And this graduation should be done in the form of spiritual growth. It's not graduation in the sense of various other disciplines in society. Like, for example, somebody is in a medical field, then he does his MBBS. There's one level of graduation. Then he goes to specialization. There's another level of graduation. Then he goes to super specialization. That's another level of graduation. It is not that way. That graduation is going outside, more and more critically outside. Whereas here it is not like that. Or the same in the sports, when you take it, somebody is like qualified himself for Ranji Trophy. Wow, he's great. He's supposed to be for the state level. Then somebody is supposed to be playing for the Indian team. Oh, he's great. Then he's an IPL, much more greater. So it looks like that there is another different kind of graduation in the sport, different graduation in that level. But here, the graduation of life, it's not one sport here or one activity there, one specialization there. It is for the life. So the life graduation, whether you may be an engineer, you may be a doctor, you may be a sportsman, you may be something, they said that it has to go through these stages of life, graduating it to the next level, to the next level. In that way, the first level graduation is what is called as brahmacharya. Brahmacharya itself is something which should be able to decide what is the direction that you have by your nature, by the activity outside. So therefore, and the type of discipline that you would like to have, all those things are given at that level, identified is at that level. So a Kshatriya is Kshatriya, Vaishya is Vaishya, Shudra is Shudra, and a Brahmana is Brahmana at that level itself. So that as he enters into that Grahastha level, we should have these 4 people ready. Apprenticeship may be there, that's a different issue, but direction is given. It is not that you are somebody, you decide something else. It's not like that. So your guna and the type of karma that you do, they're so thoroughly observed and then put them together so that you go in that direction. But sometimes slips may be there. It's all right. But later we can correct. But that correction can be exceptions, not the rule. Rule is something that you are in this direction. That's why this Chaturvarnyam Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Vibhaga, that means a division. Verticals that Krishna has given, Bhagavad Gita has given, or this particular Sanathana Dharma has given. Now what happens? You enter into the society. Now, as I said, the society itself is a living organism. It's not something which is dead. It's not something which is dead parts are together like this, but they're living parts. And the living unit in this society is supposed to be the house, the home. And in that, the people who are living, they are the living portion. So that is the unit. I need to create a very living kind of a unit in the society. That's why Grahastha becomes a very, very important step in the life. It has to come. Now, before even going to that, I said that most important component of human being when we are born, which our people have recognized right at the beginning, is one thing. That's what is your bhavana. And the bhavana, totally the other cultures have missed it. not only missed it, misunderstood it. And another thing, what is the most important thing about the misunderstood is we always talked about bhavana is yours. It's not somebody else's. But people always said that I love this, I love that. It's only given to the outside, and that person has to love me, and this person has to see. I must possess it. So it's always object oriented. It's not going towards subject. Spiritual journey itself is getting out of object to the subject. So if the love also I translate, my bhavan also I translated with the object outside, then I'm making a mistake. And that's the reason why people get into that mistake. Now, when you turn inwards, then you can see the same character it is there in all these things, whether I love or whether I have compassion or whether I have appreciation or somebody I have a respect, Shraddha, or somewhere I have my friendship. All these things are looking like, when you look at myself, manifestation of same quality that is there within me, manifesting in different ways. So now that means these relationships are very important because relationships will give that. Minus this bhavana, minus this relationship, then only intellect is there. Intellect only divides. Relationship unite. Bhavana unites. The society is not just a is not a just simple jigsaw puzzle. You put the puzzles together, it becomes no. It is not like that. It has to give a bhavana behind it. That's why it is said that in the normal world outside, in the material world outside, 1+1 is 2. Whereas in the bhavana world, 1+1 is 11. It's not 2. It is much more than that. Yes, this is what is our common experience. Like when you have an appreciation in front of you, then few colors together, you put it on on a screen, you see that a wonderful picture comes out of it. Few chisel beats that you make on a stone, it gives something beautiful, Ramlala. See, that's what is the bhavana aspect of it. And we know that. But unfortunately, what happened is that people separated this out from the day-to-day life. Now, in order to create not only that, the important aspect of this bhavana is that bhavana will enhance the whole thing. As I said, 1+1 is not 2, 1+1 is 11. That's the kind of feeling it brings about. Few colors on a canvas, you put it together, it becomes an extraordinary, wonderful painting. We have the story of that great painter and a very nice, beautiful painting that you have, Picasso. So how much does it paint? He said about few $100,000 or something like that. Said for this, a 4x4 canvas and then some painting and all that. He said, how much you give? I pay about $1,000. Okay, give me $1,000. He took $1,000, went inside there, and then bring back a few colors, paints and all that, and a canvas, and said, you take it. No, I wanted that painting. See, painting is not few things like that, it's much more than that. Similarly, a car does not mean just you have some this thing, that thing, and all that. It has to have some whole soul that it has to work together. There should be a harmony in whatever that you do it. That harmony is something that is embedded inside. And somebody who is an expert in that field can only bring about that. For him, it's a baby. It's not a small little machine. So therefore, Mullah Nasruddin's son, he made a car and then invited Dad, come on, I'll give you a ride in this car. He said, what is this car? He said, no, I went to junkyard and then got all those things and assembled together. Now everything is there. And the nice, wonderful label that is, the best car label that is there. And then all that is there. And then I can give you a ride. And then went on the ride. And somewhere in between, it just collapsed the whole thing. And then he fell down with all the back pain and all. And then, Papa, I'm so sorry. I brought you in this car. And then you fell down. I'll get you a doctor. He said, no, don't get a doctor. Get a veterinarian. said, why? He said, you know, I felt I'm not a human being because you offered a ride and I go with you. I'm not a human being. I must be an animal. I must be a donkey. So it is not just question of assemble few things, much more than that. Husband and wife is not just an assembly. Husband and wife and children are not assembly. A servant and the master is not an assembly. See, where is the thought? So can we give something much more than just simple assembly? Like not Mullah Nasruddin's car? Can we bring some facelift to the whole thing? That's what our Puranas have done. In Puranas, when, yes, Parvati made a small little doll out of it, give a life to it. Now you see it's living. It's much more than just a material. Now the whole story follows. Shiva is there and then he did not come inside. So serious that Shiva cuts off the head and Parvati says, no, unless until you bring him back to life, I cannot allow you inside. He has to go out and get a elephant's head and put it. How do you fix it? All those things. Don't ask for material. Material is not important. Now the bhavana is that's important. You see how the whole face lift has given. It's not just only material thing. It's not just 1+1 is 2. Something much more than that. These are the stories. Similarly, Ganesha is there, Kartikeya is there, and they're brothers. Wonderful relationship. So two people are there together. They're not just brothers. There's something much more than two individuals. Like that, we have built the whole of Puranas that are there to see that a Grahastha is somebody has to bring about all these relationships in the Grahastha level. It's not just like an object is there, nice object, I appreciate it, so I possess it. No, it must be something much more than that. Possession level, it has degenerated to material. I don't want to possess it, I respect it. You have something, I respect that what you have it. And not only that, I tell everybody with happiness that you have that. It's not my possession, it's yours. And now I have respect for you. You have knowledge, and I respect your knowledge. So I bow in front of you. That's what your guru. See, this is what is the feeling that it is there. It's not the knowledge, intellectual thing. It's something much more than that. So that's why all this most important thing is to create this bhavana aspect of it, bring the people together, bring the various people together. Shankara did that. Unfortunately, what happened is that followers of Shankara made it as Advaita Vedanta. Hare, he is not just propagating one particular path of line of argument of Advaita. That was not Shankara's view. Shankara wanted to bring about the upliftment of the society. He had that feeling within himself that people have to be lifted up. It is not that for selfishness that he did it, but he felt that the whole culture is his. The whole Sanathana Dharma is his. I have to do something like this. At the age when he was 80-year-old, he was doing that. What brought him over is that something like that. And he argued, definitely. Yes, he argued with Mandana Mishra, he argued with the Kumarla Bhatta and all that. But it is not to defeat them, not to say that my theory is better than your theory. That was not the idea. Shankara had to do that because a logic can only defeat the logic. You cannot defeat the logic without logic. So therefore, otherwise what people take it, this is logical, this is not. I am somebody, God is there, I believe in God. So they don't enter into the logic. But Shankara did not do that. He followed God. He wrote the stotras and all that. But when the intellect came, he argued with them. And he argued with them and showing that how he is superior to them. But at the same time, he did not show that I am having better logic than you have. My intellect is more equipped than your intellect. That's not the idea. He said that intellect is defeated. It's the emotion that's important. It's the bhavana that's important. The reason why that I say that is because wherever that he went and argued with that, like Mandana Mishra and all that, they became his disciples. See, with intellect, what happens? Intellect only divides. Intellect separates. Whereas the bhavana, brings them together. Such a must feeling that they must have felt in the bhavana that they immediately came to Shankara said, and Shankara is half their age, less than half their age. He said, we will follow you. Is it not something which is extraordinary that happened? So that is the reason why Shankara was extraordinarily great, because he did not look at to propose his own Advaita Siddhanta. Unfortunately, if you always say that Advaita's, Siddhanta Sthapanacharya, then somebody's feeling, that's all. But I don't contribute to that idea. Why they said that? There is some reason for that, because it was at that time when all over the world they never thought that everything comes from the same source. They thought there can be good from one source, bad can be another source. God can be one source, human being can be another source. Animal can be another source, matter can be one source, and then energy can be one source. This is what the society was. Until recently, this is what the science believe. And they try to give argument towards that and all those things science used to give. And at that point of time, when this way, for thousands of years, this was going on in the world, fortunately, in this land, there were people who said everything comes from the same source. And that is what is their experience. It's not that they are saying out of ignorance. It is that their own experience said, I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. That means whatever the creative force, I am that. What kind of an audacity must be there, somebody to say that? It's not audacity, it's somebody's realization. Similarly, if somebody at that time said, Ishavasya midam sarvam, everything is nothing but divinity, how can they say nothing but divinity? There is something which is evil, something which is bad, something is good, something is bad. So people had that notion of things which are separate. And that was the argument. But at that time, when this kind of an argument was there, somebody came and said that we are all one and everything is nothing but divinity. And the same idea that people have given again and again echoed, that is what is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. May everybody be happy. When this way, when somebody is realizing that, is it not something which is of a higher nature of realization than a realization which says that you are separate, I am separate, you are different, I am different, matter is different, energy is different. Yes, this is something which is normal perception. So what must be something is that can we rise above that perception? Now, there are two ways that it could be there. One way is that I can say that these people are just argument, otherwise they don't have any reality. So that people say that, Arey, why are you there in the sky, in the clouds? Come down to the human life. Then you see all these things are there. The bad people are there, good people are there, bad apples are there, good apples. So that's what they say. Why? But then he's waiting for, I think, dog or something like that. So then some that way you can realize that. You can say that it's all. But then, no. He must be saying something true. Can I also experience that? When somebody goes there, that's what is a spiritual journey. So therefore, that Shankara wanted to give importance to this idea. But what is that we can bring about this? Accept them to see that how we can do. Yes, they are there, but then can we accept them and go ahead? That's where basically bhavana comes into the picture. Bhavana unites us. Intellect divides us. Intellect separates out. More and more intellectual, you can see that how every specialization is actually creating every boundary. We have created so many boundaries in the world. Every field of activity, we have created boundaries. But one thing which can transcend that boundary is this emotions. And emotion is bhavana. And bhavana is something which is extraordinary. Connect with the divinity, because that's where basically the whole thing comes up. Puranas give us that. The whole of Purana literature is created. It's not the question of real or unreal, the question of something happened or not happened. But the question is that, is it not something which carries that kind of a message that we are just together? That's why we have such a beautiful idea. The whole relationship idea is there in the Grihastha. So the Puranas are the basis for the Grihastha. And it's not just only the basis, but it is something which should be guidance for the Grihastha. Like there were 5 brothers, Pandavas together. How extraordinary they were there. Can we not live 5 people together in the same house? Can we not take the message from the Pandavas? Or should we be fighting like Kauravas? Message like that. I may have all the kind of knowledge, but I can still have the sensitivity like Rama has. Or should I be like Ravan? My knowledge becomes my arrogance. So like that, all the Purana stories are like that. These are the 2 wives that are there, Suruchi and then Suniti. Very name, and the very name itself says, so Ruchi means something which is material. Niti is something which is spiritual. And then naturally, when Suniti's son comes up, Suruchi is very flamboyant and everything and all that. And then her son comes and sits in the father's lap. But then Suniti's son, that's what he says, that I want to be there where I do not change. And that's what is Dhruva. Dhruva comes up and sits there. That's why we have seen Dhruvatara, which is this center for the whole of the star back, this whole star system.
Did you say his father's attention changed? So that is also there?
Yes, the father's attention. So that's how basically, see, that is what is the story. Now you see, were there really Suriji, Suniti for the husband like that and then this like that? These are not important. Important is look at the way that what he said. I want to be stable. I don't want to be drifted by these things. We have all these stories like that from the Puranas. And from that stories, how to bring it to the day-to-day life. We have to remember these stories, we have to live that stories. That's why all these rituals are created. So that means to say when Bali Chakravarti thing happened, that's a festival. When Prahlada comes up, it's another festival. And Rama does something, it's a festival. So your whole life is filled with this spirit. So Grihastha, very important with these stories and with these festivals that remember these incidents and everything. Rejoice. We enjoy the whole thing. So all these things had given the Grihastha. And in Brahmacharya Ashrama, you can't do it. And Grihastha is the time where you have energy and you are the master of the house and you dictate all those things and you do it. In fact, the way that it is described in the Shastras, that on the Shivaratri day, when the father is fully dressed in the Shiva's way and then goes to the temple, the whole village just watches him because such a pious person is going. If you want to create that kind of an impression, you have to live that. Without living that, you cannot do it. And that's a simple way that our stories give us. Like, for example, that Mahabharata Ramayana serial was there at the TV. And these actors, the Rama actor was Arun Govil. He played the role of Rama. When he played the role of Rama, initially for 2-3 days, they didn't, 2-3 weeks, they did not. But once they realized that he is the Rama Arun Govil, wherever he goes, that they bow down in front of his feet. He became Rama himself. And then what happened? And he was given to smoking. And then he realized, can I be smoking when I'm Rama? What kind of an example I'm setting up? Just no. He gave up smoking. He said that one big idea gave us smoking. The same thing happened with Lakshmana and Sita. Sita and Lakshmana, they were ordinary people going through uh, the acting schools and all that, and they graduated and they got selected. Once they did the role of Sita and Lakshmana. In interview, Lakshmana said, after playing the role of Lakshmana for Rama, I don't want to play any more roles. I'm satisfied with that. I'm in contemplation of Rama all the time. Sita also like that. I didn't accept any more role. Finished. or it changes their character. If it can change the characters like that, can it not change the characters in our day-to-day life also? That's why we have all these stories, all these things they're real. In fact, the more that you contemplate on that, it becomes much more real. Like my friend who is a fan of Bhagavad Gita sung by Ghantasala. Many times I changed that. He is in USA. He made a nice, wonderful studio where he plays Ghantasala's Bhagavad Gita, sits nicely in the chair, cozy with some small little night lamp, and then listen to the music. It's like a half an hour meditation for him before going to the work. I also went there. I sat there, listened to the whole thing. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. Then he came out, he said that, and it makes him so peaceful. And he's a Reddy, makes him so peaceful. And then he said, Raghuram, you know so many things, you read so many books and all this. Give me only one answer. Yes. What is that? When Krishna sang Bhagavad Gita in the battlefield, he sang like Ghantasala. How reality it becomes. It's a feeling, the bhavana, love for Krishna, love for Bhagavad Gita. So these are the things which will make. How many people would come to Chennai and they would come in front of N.T. Ramarao's house and then offer their prayers in front of him because N.T. Ramarao was always say Krishna or Rama character. It was like that. See, the devotion in the people was what we need to see that. In Grihastha these are the things which are important. Can we really set up that kind of a relationship with everybody? In fact, today only I was listening to something which said that only in India that there are populations who are the younger generations. In fact, in about 30 years, the whole China will become old people. And Japan, more than 40% of the men don't find women. In China also it is like that. In Europe, it is already old people. Yeah. Young people are only in India because we have respected younger people. We have given a respect for that. Yes, every child is born, we really respected. We have taken care of all those things. So that's what is important. So we developed such relationship, and that relationships were sacred for us. So sacred that brother and sister, you tie just you see on the street that you say, in fact, in Prashanti, you see that all the students, they're students, girl students and boy students, they tie Rakhi. Rakhi you tie, you become brother and sister. That means no bad intentions, no another thing like that. That means you open the doors of love for various ways of transaction that is there. Whereas there, I was searching for finding out what's the literature about love in the Western world. They only have romantic love. There is no other thing about it. Wow, what a unfortunate thing that is. So that means if you look at all the Puranas, all the relations that are there are sacred, wonderful. Brothers gives his life for the sake of his sister. Yeah, that kind of thing is not there. That kind of literature is also not there. So do we consider that this literature and everything is it real or unreal and all that? It doesn't matter. What matters is that it creates such a wonderful bondage in the society. So Grahastha unit is that which values all these relationships. The moment I have a house, yes, my brothers will come, my sisters will come, everybody from the family and other side family also people come. And it becomes like one unit, one established, extraordinary, strong unit in the society. This is what is Grihastha. So in order to establish that kind of thing, you have such a strong connection between these two families. That's why marriage ceremony is supposed to be extraordinary, extraordinary, wonderful ceremony in one's life. It's not the question of pomp and show, but the most important thing is the spirit behind it. It is two independent families are coming together. Is there a way that I can create that kind of a situation in such a way that these two families are no more two families, they become one family? In such a way that many houses that I've seen, that they are no more father-in-law, mother-in-law, they are mother and father. They address them as mother and father. They don't address as mother-in-law and father-in-law. It's all gone, finished. So that is the basic idea that you come across. When the girl says that mother is sick, not mother, it is husband's mother. Similarly, he says that dad is not doing well. Ooh, dad, it is daughter's dad, wife's dad is doing it. See, that's the kind of relationship that we need to bring about. How to do that? Involve everybody in the society, in the family, into your life. You see, look at the way that the present day world is, that you separate them out. That's why immediately after marriage, you go to honeymoon, finish. Whereas it was not like that in our tradition. The first day after the marriage, that means next day actually, marriage is done by the girl's side. The boys side, that they invite everybody from the girl's side and create a nice, wonderful feast so that you come intimate. You're all intimate. Then the elders in this family, elders in that family, they invite to their houses, further bondage. All these things are bringing them together. It helps you to understand much better. The husband and wife, they understand much better that way. Oh, just casual discussions. It's not that something which is planned. You know what? Why are you making the budgie? He loves that budgie. Oh, now she registers. What do they like? How did you do that? This way you do it. All that. Then she learned the trick of doing it. See, all those kind of things are essentially to see that how beautifully it is knit together in such a way. We had never had this concept of going to the honeymoon. In fact, recently somebody was telling that uh, when they got married for honeymoon, they came to Prashanti. Because you can live here peacefully. And when peacefully in the beginning, when you got married and living, and then you chit chat. And that chit chat is always about the family level. I said, such a wonderful bondage. For 15 days, we were in Prashanti doing some yoga and other things. But whenever time is there, we get together, we talk about these things. It brought about whose family it was there. No? Amrit was remembering that. Their the special family, this is because they came for honeymoon to Prashanti. Prashanti is the place to come. Wonderful. So this way, what happens is that the whole importance of this whole relationship is brought about in the form of this marriage function that is there. And what happens is that now, once you know that who has got what kind of understanding, ability, and all that, any little differences that are there, you don't go out anywhere. Your family is there, and the priests are there. That's what is there. So Grahastha is an ashram where the real ashrama is set up there for the family. The strength, they both of them become strength. In fact, it is not, again, it is not 1 + 1 is 2, it's 1 + 1 is 11. That is the kind of thing. Now, what happens is that now all these things is converted into rituals. Ritual is not something which is, people have an idea. Ritual means something that you do. It's not that way. It is something that you really put your heart into that. That's why every house used to have what is called as that your own God, your own deity. That's what is Kuladaiva. And apart from the Kuladaiva, they are also your own God, your own, that's what is Ishtadaiva. So you have an Ishtadaiva and a Kuladaiva. And apart from that, Grama Devata. That means in that village. So that what happens is that the Kula is bound together by the Kuladaiva. Ishtadaiva is for me. I feel that my personal connection with that particular Ishtadaiva. Then what happens? The town is there. We all unite together in that the Grama Devata. Every Grama used to have a Devata. And then the whole story behind it, you go to the Thala Purana. But all this Thala Purana, which gives the details of that particular god And then who were all the people who were saints who were there and all that. 600-700 years of history will be there behind it. Many times, because that people feel that way, there are some wonderful stories behind it. I remember in our own Khammam, small place, there's one temple that was there in the forest, and that is Narasimha Swami temple. On the top of the hill, it was there, and then nobody cared for that because it was in the forest, it was there. But then somebody came up and said that there's one lady, she dreamt about this goddess, and then it has to be improved and all that. So let us take up this project for her sake that to improve it. Okay. Then they put together, and then all those things that my father was also part of it. And we developed that very nicely. But then that it caters to villages which are nearby around, and all those people used to come there. But then the temple was so this thing, it was now it has really grown very big. But it was those days like that. And no temple priest, no nothing like that. My father did a very unique job. He caught hold of a young boy, was about 12, 13 years, trained him in his hospital to train him in medicines and all those things. In those days, what is called as RMP training. And RMP made him pass. So that means RMP training is good enough for him to give medicine. And then simultaneously, he was also trained in the temple priesthood. And what are the rituals that he need to do? All the training was there. By the time he finished all this training and all that, he was 25, 30 years. He said, you go to the temple. And then whenever you're in the temple, take care of the temple, do the puja and all that. But go to the villages around and then give them the medicine. Those days, all these medicines were, the mixtures that he used to give it. And then any difficult cases, bring to my hospital weekly once. Weekly once he used to come and my father treat them. Absolutely nowhere, no money is involved. It's all people's contribution that used to do it. Beautiful temple, nice way it has developed. And the village has the doctor, and the villages are united. And then temple has come up. It was so wonderful. And when we were growing up our days and school days, we used to go to the temple and then sit down there because it is on the top of the hill and then enjoy the whole thing. Even if we were to come back, it was totally dark. Snakes used to be there, but then we would negotiate all that and then come back. Recently, then I went. When one of my visits, I went there. And I went to the temple. Now it is really very nice, very beautiful. And I went around the temple. Temple priest was there, and then he gave the tirtham and all that. After that, I looked at him. I said, there was one priest here who was taking care of it by name Krishnamacharya. He looked at me suspiciously for a while. Sir, wait. I said, what? He called, hey Ranga, come here. Hey, this fellow, come here. Hey, Vishnu, come here. So all the three came and then touched the feet of this person. I said, what is it? Then I asked him, what is this? He said, sir, we are children of Krishnamacharya. And then you asked about my dad and the way that your age is. You must be one of the children of Dr. Sitaram Rao. And today we are eating food because of your dad. So respect. See how wonderful it is there. And then which son you are? I said, I'm Raghuram. Oh, so very happy. And then we went to the temple and all that. And then he told all the story that how all these things happened, how they were established in that. How beautifully that this temple system integrated people together. In Grihastha, these are the things which are responsible for Grihastha to do these things. It's not that my father did it, but the idea is that a Grihastha is supposed to take care of the village, is a responsibility, is a unit in the society. So like this, the Puranas are there useful and the temples and rituals are useful. This is what Shankara has established. Shankara has not just given only Advaita ashramas and these 4 ashramas. People say that Shankara Mata stopped. Yes, that's wonderful. In fact, he wanted to revive the 4 Vedas. He revived 4 Vedas by putting these 4 matas. And then each mata is given a responsibility of one particular Veda. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharvaveda. They have done excellent job. But he did not stop there. He wanted to revive this temple culture. That's why he has given what is called as Shanmata Sthapanacharya. That means 6 different gods and godheads and all that. He has written the stotras, he has written the prayers, and saw that the temples basically will be revived by these things. And not only that, there are people who are in the forests, in the hills. So therefore, he established ashramas in the hills, because people every time cannot go to this temple. So that's why in this ashrams. So he started what is called as Giri Sampradaya. Giri means hill. And one Sampradaya, they also teach the Upanishad Vedas in the way that it is approaching to those people. Similarly, those are people who are there in the coastal area. And it looks like that they are cut off from the society. No, we include them also. He said Sagar Sampradaya. So like that, he has Dashanami Sampradaya, 10 different Sampradayas he's created to see that how the Sanatana Dharma reaches every nook and corner of this country. Not only that, after all those things, he himself has written the various sutras and all those things and established all. On one side, he has written such a great thing like Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. But on the other side, he has written all these stotras. How do you consider him to be only Advaita Siddhanta? Because he has created all those things. Not only that, in the forest, people do not approach this culture. They also deserve this particular culture. That's why he started this Naga and then Bil Sampradaya. So these are the people who he created that. All different kinds of gods and goddesses of them, he created, he integrated them. So that means nobody is left in this culture from the spiritual direction. You can be there. So therefore, basically, that this whole culture is filled with this spiritual direction, spiritual journey that you have to make. And Grihastha is the responsible. Grihastha is held very high responsible. It's the responsibility of the Grihastha to take care of it. Unless until Grihastha is equipped with all those things, cannot take care of that. So it is not just only the equipment that he has, but he has to follow the rituals and orders in such a way that he has to develop. But there's another thing also in the Grihastha, because he has to see that how the whole technology also develops, how the science also develops in this Grihastha level. Not only that you establish the Sanatana Dharma, but the science also develops, and the science develops without encountering the differences with the spirituality. That's an extraordinary, wonderful idea that he had, that both these things have to go hand in hand. That's the reason why medicine developed in this land in the form of all this Ayurveda. But the people who have given the Ayurveda, they are all supposed to be saints, spiritual people. Similarly, the Sankhya philosophy is developed. The person who developed Sankhya philosophy is also a saint, Kapila Maharshi. So like that, nowhere else that these two things are separated. Unfortunately, what happened is that people who didn't understand this, they started saying that India's growth in spirituality, otherwise world grows in the materialism. It is as if India did not grow in materialism. We had an extraordinary, wonderful growth in materialism. But only thing is that our growth in materialism was for a purpose which is serving the spiritual growth in that particular area. And second thing is that the foreign invasions on our culture and all that is the one which really hampered this way. Otherwise, unfortunately, whatever that the things that we have developed today, the world would have been much better with our Indian culture that is there. In fact, there is one Vimana Shastra. Vimana Shastra means actually it's not just only the aeroplane, but it's the whole thing about the aerodynamics. Aerodynamics. And then the material connected with that and all those things. So one of the great scholars in Sanskrit, we went to him, myself and Venkatram. I said, we would like to know about Vimana Shastra, that Shastra is there. He said, Vimana Shastra you don't understand unless until you have to follow certain other things before that. I said, what is that? There is a dhatu that is used for the Vimana. That means material. And you should know that Vimana Dhatu Shastra. But Vimana Dhatu is a special dhatu out of dhatus. So therefore you have to read the Dhatu Shastra. In the Nalanda, when the library was burnt. We have lost some of those things. We have Vimana Shastra, but allied texts we don't have it. So it's very difficult for us to understand it. But anyway, we are trying to explore. One day it might come. See, look at the way that how much it must have been developed and how much that they have developed. In fact, now people they are realizing that there is a place in Sri Lanka, Nuvarelia, which is supposed to be the place where uh, Ravan was there. And there's a huge castle on the top of the mountain, which you cannot reach it. There's no approach. And there are 4 places for Vimanas, 4 different aeroplanes can be there. Out of which the best of the aeroplanes is Pushpaka Vimana. It is not the only Vimana. There were other Vimanas over there. All that side, they knew it. And we have the description of that in the Ramayana. All that thing is there. It's not a story. It's a reality. So we had all that. And these grahasthas were developing all those things, working with that. So grahastha has to have a total respect for the science outside, respect for the spirituality. And what is the way that you could do it? Yoga way of life only can give it. And what is that yoga way of life? Once again, let us get back to the original thing. That is, what is yoga? Abhyasa vairagya bhyapta nirata. That means to say there's a discipline and also there is a non-attachment. Both these things have to be part of this culture itself. At a grahastha level, we should have a continuous training, continuous updating of this abhyasa vairagya. It is not just doing some asanas, doing some practices, but the whole lifestyle itself should be with that yoga way of lifestyle, which has got abhyasa and vairagya intertwined in the whole thing that is growing up, with all the rituals, with all the things that are there. So that is what is basically grahastha level. It's a big responsibility of the grahastha. So what are the things that we do in the practice of, what are the practices that we do in the name of dharma at the grahastha? Now let's go back to the original uh, lesson of dharma, where it should have the idea of yaga, dana, indriya nigraha, and then prema. These are all the aspects that we have seen as the basic crux. And then we have seen yoga is abhyasa and vairagya. When we blend all these things in the form of various rituals and all that, you will see that's what is the grasta lifestyle. We are, and not only that, there is one more thing that is there. Our life is not only this life, it's a journey that's continuing, spiritual life, life after life after life. That's only in this culture that we recognize that it's a continuum of the life. We say life and death question. Scriptures say it is not life and death question. Birth and death are connected. Life is something in between. You continue the life. So this life after life after life after life, this is the way that journey takes place. Grahastha is the root cause for that. Grahastha is the respectful position for that. So can we once again re-establish the Grahastha ashrama in our day-to-day life? That's important. We'll look into the more details about Grahastha ashrama as we go ahead. Stop it here at this. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We were talking about bhavana, which is very important in
Yeah.
Grahastha, but that kind of understanding and learning, does it come in the brahmacharya for those times?
Yes.
They,
Brahmacharya has to prepare you for all those
so
things.
they have such
Yes.
inquiry, self-inquiry.
Yes, self-inquiry and all that. Direction of life is given in the brahmacharya ashrama. Then they fit, and what are how they can continue that continuous journey being in the grahastha. See, grahastha is a responsibility. It's not by rejecting grahastha. Only in certain cases where the intense desire is there for them in such a way that they grow, such people they bypass this grahasthashma and go to sannyasashma. That's very rare cases. And that's what Shankara gives that also for them. Whenever that kind of a call comes to you, you go, not otherwise. And the teacher will know whether it's a call there or not. Yadhareva pravajet, tadhareva virajet. The moment that rises, then you are going. Shankara happened like that. Whereas the same thing, like for example, Ramakrishna's disciples, Akhandananda, they're all like that. They've just come out of the house, they took that call. But the same thing that, Guruji Golwalkar, with that passion, he went to Akhandananda. Akhandananda said, no, you have to go back to become this Acharya in the society. That's why RSS is started. Modi also went to Swamiji to become sannyasi. Said, no, you have a respect, you have a responsibility to this. Because those are the people who could see that. The call is not there, but you have to go through certain polishing that has to be done. So Grahasthashrama, then Vanaprasthashrama, Sanya. Grahasthashrama, you have to graduate yourself into Vanaprasthashrama. So we need to understand that.
So for such a person who is from the brahmacharya, he goes to a bigger grihastha. Maybe the society itself is his family. In that case.
He can become. See, that is what that's the reason why the teacher's insight is there. The teacher is guiding you. That's why it is called as the Guru. Guru throws the light in that direction. Responsibility is there for you. So, anybody has any questions, you can just unmute. I don't think there's any question. Okay.
Thank you, sir. It's a very good talk again.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghuramji. Thank you.
Oh, welcome.
I'm sorry I'm not able to attend in person, but next week onwards I will attend.
Okay. Oh, Shilpa is here. Oh,
I'm-
nice. Yeah. So much, Shilpa.
Thank you, Raghuramji.
You're frozen.